is the AM show coming to you live from Fanofa Street, Kokomlemle. My name is Israelite, and I host the show with the Nimwa Enimado. It's a brand new week, all right, but the issues from the 2022 budget are still dominating discussions, particularly the 1.75% levy government wants to impose on all electronic money transactions and what has become known as the Momo tax. Government believes this is the one way to widen the tax net and ensure almost everyone contributes their share of taxes needed for the development of the country. But it's clear there needs to be some fine-tuning and clarity as to how the levy will be applied. The minority in Parliament, however, wants to kick against the e-levy entirely.
The government is seeking to introduce e-levy or e-transaction levy, call it a mobile phone tax or.
But the finance minister says they will try and convince the minority to come along.
This historic 10 billion intervention that we have had and finding ways for burden sharing. So we recognize the problems of youth unemployment, the problem of growth, the problem of debt, and we as a nation decide to burden share.
The Fix the Country movement has meanwhile planned a demonstration on Friday against the e-levy and will be holding a news conference this morning on exactly why. This morning, we'll assemble the essential stakeholders to deliberate on the e-levy and other matters arising from the 2022 budget. Now, the National Science and Maths quiz gets into the semi-final stage on Tuesday with a number of interesting contests lined up after the elimination of some top schools. So we have Keta SHTS going against Wesley Girls High School and Tamale SHS. That's one of the contests. We also have St. Peter's SHS, Chemu SHS going against Presec Legon. And then we also have an all-Kumasi final, a semi-final, KNUSC SHS Prempeh College and Opoku Waris School. We'll bring you the stories from the contest that happened at the quarter-final stage and look ahead to the semi-final contest. We also have Showbiz with IB. Thank you for choosing us this morning. Thank you. We love you.
Hello, my name is Evans Mensah, and you can relive all the fun and excitement on Top Story, Newsnight, and of course, Ghana Connect via podcast. All you need to do is to log on to myjoyonline/podcast. Search for your favorite show and relive the moment. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
Good morning and welcome to the AM News. Our very first story, the minority in Parliament says it will kick against the introduction of the new electronic transaction levy. Speaking to Joy News on the sidelines of a post-budget workshop at Ho in the Volta region, minority leader Haruna Idrisu said government is being opportunistic and only seeking to exploit the COVID-19 pandemic, which contributed to a surge in digital transactions.
The government is seeking to introduce e-levy or e-transaction levy, call it a mobile phone tax or Momo tax. We stand united collectively against it, and we would not support government. We would not cooperate with government because that will further deepen the suffering of the Ghanaian people. The introduction of that tax handle is simply opportunistic. The number of mobile subscribers and the use of digital platform globally grew up to 68 billion in 2020. And for our purposes, the portfolio grew from 257 billion to 500 billion, largely because of COVID. So you don't have a lazy, convenient way of taxing the consequence of COVID. So people decided to use digital platform because of COVID. We needed to do social distancing. Government is turning around to just take advantage of COVID to introduce what they call a Momo tax. Take for instance, if you chose to pay a medical bill to a doctor by Momo, it means that it will be taxed. There is the danger of you being taxed 7-10 times a day, depending upon how much transfer or remittance you do in a day. So the incidence of double taxation is very grave and it's unavoidable. So it means that if you transacted 100 businesses 100 times in a day on an electronic platform, you will pay that tax 100 times. What it means is that you are reintroducing a functionally cash economy against the development of a digital economy. And we don't find that acceptable, and we think that government is just taking advantage of COVID, and therefore the numbers going forward may not be as in COVID year in 2020, where everybody was compelled to do business on a digital platform. The Momo tax, as I've said, will be a disincentive to the growth and sustenance of a digital economy.
Meanwhile, Finance Minister Fariata says government will find a way to win the cooperation of the minority on the matter. In an interview with Joy News on the sidelines of the ongoing Volta Fair, he said Ghana cannot continue to do things the same way.
10 billion intervention that we have had, and finding ways for burden sharing. So we recognize the problems of youth unemployment, the problem of roads, the problem of debt, and we as a nation decide to burden share to break this intractable problem. So it's very exciting seeing the support that he has garnered and seeing some of the entrepreneurs here who are here. And it gives me hope that where we are going with the e-levy is the right way to do that.
It's interesting that you mentioned the e-levy. There are already concerns out there that
the e-levy
amounts to double taxation and inimical to entrepreneurship. That
well, if you look at your 2.2 million youth in 1960 to 10.8 million youth, it cannot be that we do things as we do them always. And I think we all need to stretch our minds as to what we want to curtail. The indignity of not having a job, I think, should really manage how the world economy is moving into more of an e-line economy. The old tax handles might not be different, and as you bring these things on, you tweak them with time. But the clarity of understanding that we cannot continue to have this youth problem, we cannot continue to not have our roads built, we cannot continue to not look at our debt. I think it's in front of us, and usually a change, brings these things. But I think the change should be how do we make this efficient and move forward. But in terms of everybody not liking taxes, always will be that. So we have maybe a month of discussions of Parliament. But once the objective is clear, we'll get to some efficiency. And I really want the youth to go behind us to say that, let's talk for jobs.
But what does the wife of the Finance Minister, Angela Fariata, think about the controversial e-levy? Well, listen to what she told Joy News in a rare interview on governance issues at the Volta Fair in Ho.
Oh, I am so impressed. Of course, for me, the tie-dye excites me, the tie-dye clothes and the cloth. But then I'm really impressed with, the commercial farming, Kumfi fruit and juice factories. There's a paint factory place. Then there's education, a School of Allied Health Sciences, and just the tech bit of it excites me.
Your husband, the finance minister, was in Parliament, and he announced the electronic transaction tax.
Yes.
A lot of Ghanaians are saying that it amounts to double taxation. Many are not really in support of it. As the wife of the finance minister, what do you make of that?
I have to pay 1/3 or more of my salary as taxes every month.
Okay.
And I know that there are many people who are not paying taxes. And I know that they would like better roads. They would like, when they go to hospital, to get better care. They would like their NHIA to work so that they can present their cards and get medication. I know that they would like a good Ghana. There's no country that can develop without its citizens contributing. And there are too many people in Ghana not contributing. And this tax, if we all pay a little, we send money, you know, I think when we send money to each other to pay for services that is taxed, pretty soon we will figure a way not to pay income tax.
Uprooted 3 times already and now stuck between a sea and a lagoon. That is the story of the villagers of Agokeji. The community is one of the worst affected areas in the tidal waves disaster that displaced more than 3,000 people in the Keta area 2 weeks ago. The community of over 500 people is now a ghost town, as many have fled to perch with friends and family elsewhere. Justice Baidu went to meet some of the last residents of Agokeji, forced by sea erosion to say goodbye to the land of their birth.
This is Yawo Agbemava's last day in the home she has lived for 45 years. In her lifetime, she has seen sea waves sweep through her village many times. But what she saw 2 weeks ago was different.
When I hear the sea waves, my heart beats faster. I become very afraid. I've not seen anything like this before. The sea used to be far away. Now it's with us.
Like Yao, nearly everyone from Agokeji, her village, has left. What remains? Broken water pots, torn apart roofing sheets, and belongings that villagers left behind as they ran for their lives when the sea waves forced their doors open in the dead of the night.
If the sea is rougher, we just wake up and stay and sit down and be waiting for the day to come. Because if you sleep, you don't know that the water will come to the room.
With the climate change, you can see it's really affecting our community.
This is Fuvame. Some of the people who are just moving away from Agokeji now used to live here. After years of sea erosion, everyone has left.
It was a big community, very big community. The people keep on moving backwards. Keep on moving backwards till the time they get close to the river. And there's no place for them to move, to step back anymore. So final decision was they have to move from this community to resettle at Agokeji.
Yao hopes she can come back to Agokeji one day.
I want to come back one day because this is where I belong. My grandparents lived here.
A sea defense project that could help protect her community has stalled for years. Sea levels are rising by the day. It is uncertain where the next move will be to. Justice Baidu, Joy News, Agokeji.
Well, let's go up north now. And the Catholic Relief Services have supported victims of the August 12 floods in the Upper West region with 950,000 Ghana cedis. The money was distributed to 811 households in the Nadoli, Kaleo, Dafiama, Busie, Isa, and Wa East districts. Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
The Upper West region on August 12 woke up to a disaster whose magnitude hasn't been seen for decades. For several hours, the region was subjected to torrential rains, triggering violent flash floods. It displaced over 800 households and rendered them homeless. 702 acres of farms belonging to a little over 1,602 farmers got submerged and some washed away by the floods. Furthermore, major highways and roads in the region were washed away by the floods, cutting off 8 municipalities and districts from the regional capital. It is a little over 3 months since the region witnessed a catastrophic disaster. Some of the major highways and roads that were cut off were quickly and temporarily fixed and open to traffic. Several organizations, government agencies, and individuals have come to the aid of the affected victims by providing them with food items, mattresses, and blankets to ameliorate their sufferings. However, that isn't enough to assuage the sufferings of the hundreds of people who are now virtually wallowing in abject poverty. The Catholic Relief Services, CRS, concerned about the plight of the victims, also joined the wagon to cushion them. In collaboration with their partners, the National Disaster Management Organization and the Wa Catholic Diocese, officials handed over a dummy check of 950,000 Ghana cedis to the Apostle Regional Minister, Dr. Abis Bin Sali, on behalf of the victims. The amount will provide cash assistance to 811 of the most affected households in the Dafime Bure Isa, Nadule Keleu, and Wa East districts. Ghana's country representative of CRS, Daniel Mumuni, stated that each household will receive 700 Ghana cedis for their own use, as they can determine what the people need most.
We'll be targeting about 811 households with about 9,000 individual members. And each household will receive 700 Ghana cedis for their own use. So it is a multi-purpose cash distribution program so that they can use it for food and other non-food essential items for their well-being. And we've packaged it in such a way that people can identify their own needs. Sometimes development organizations come with their own agenda in terms of expressing what the needs are for people.
The Ghana National Association of Teachers has presented 10,000 Ghana cedis to the bereaved families of the Saboba boat disaster. A high-powered delegation led by its General Secretary, Thomas Musa, was in the region to commiserate with the families and also to meet their member who is in custody currently. Martina Bugri has the rest of the story.
It will be recalled that 9 students of the St. Charles Luanga Junior High School in the Saboba district of the Northern Region died after one of the 2 canoes they were using capsized in the Oti River. The students had gone with their head teacher to harvest rice in Buting, a community in the overseas. The head teacher, Emmanuel Chanja, has since been remanded in prison custody after he was charged with manslaughter. Addressing the bereaved family in Saboba, NAT Secretary Thomas Musa Tanku said they will work to ensure this disaster never occur again in the history of Ghana.
And we felt that sitting down in Accra without not coming to at least grieve with you will not be fine. Because at the end of the day, Ima is our member. And being our member, we need to come here to first express our condolences. So coming here this evening on behalf of the Ghana National Association of Teachers is number one, to express our condolences and also let you know that, let the Overlord know that we are grieving with you together, and not only in Saboba alone, all over the country. Everybody is worried and not happy about what really happened. That whatever that together with the education people can do to ensure that going forward, these things do not repeat or do not occur any time again.
A representative of the bereaved family, Jason Ngubi, said the families believe it's an accident.
If we say we will not agree, will not agree bring back the life of our children? It won't do. It will not happen. So please, we have been hit by something we cannot express ourselves. But we have taken that, we've swallowed up such this thing just because we can't do anything.
And that's it for the AM News, but the AM show continues, and up next is the newspaper review.
Hello, my name is Nathaniel Atto. You can catch up with all the fun and inspiration on the Joy Sports link here on Joy 99.7 FM, together with all other shows over and over again. It's very simple. All you need to do is go to myjoyonline.com/podcast and relive all of those fun moments over and over again. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
Joy 99.7.
All right, so it's the AM show, and we're getting into the newspaper review in a bit. Good morning to you.
Good morning, my love. How are you?
I'm well, how about you?
Everything good? A good weekend?
Yeah, it was. I'm looking at your bangles. They're looking good. They're new,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
They are. They are.
They're really lovely.
Thank you.
Kind of matching my green tie.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Before we get on, a couple of birthday dedications.
Yes, birthday.
So we have the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission, Ufosu Asamoah. It's his birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday to you.
He was at Okapman School. He was my senior in Okapman School. Oh, it's wife's birthday rather. Oh.
Right. Okay.
So it's actually the wife's birthday. So happy birthday to you. And then there's also Jacqueline Sylvianate, who is a former colleague of ours.
Yes.
Who's now in Glyco. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Jackie.
Jackie.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Catherine Usuapia, who is with a bank, is a nurse with a bank hospital. Happy birthday to all of you. Have a wonderful day.
Wonderful day.
Let's get into
So I have a question.
Right.
Your school, no? Okuapeman.
Yes.
You are where in the NSMQ?
We've dropped out.
Oh, right. Okay. Should I start with the daily?
And Accra Academy 2 is out.
And
then Fancy Film is out. Adisco is out. Ogasco is out.
You know what school is not out?
Wegehe.
Yes. Actually, I have the Jama clip. I'm going to send it to Echo so that we just play it just because.
Okay, but you know.
No size.
No. But you know that Wegehe is most likely to be kicked out. You know that Wegehe.
Why are they most likely to be kicked out?
I'm just telling you, it's a fact.
Okay, well.
So then I'm going to ask you.
No, but you see, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. Because this is a future happening, a possible future happening. We cannot say the same about the two schools that you went to who are already out and cannot actually boast of being in the semi-finals.
What shall
regardless of what you do.
What shall it profit a school to make it into the semi-final only to be kicked out?
It's still the only girls. We are still the only girls' school to make it to the semi-finals. And so even banter and school and all of that aside, it is such a significant achievement every time we're able to do this. So this morning I celebrate Wesley Girls High School because I went there, 1, but 2, because we are still the only girls' school to have gotten to that point. Which brings us to the bigger conversation of why the girls' schools are not making it all the way to the finals.
No, but Wegehe is in there, so it's okay. So okay, congratulations.
It's no. It's not okay. Thank you. It's not okay though. I think that and I remember that I had this conversation with Nanekia when she was here. Why are you like?
What can I do about it?
Okay.
It's for the schools to do well.
I'm just saying that don't come and say that's what does it profit. Why? Do you know how many years women fought to get the things that we have gotten, the right to vote, the right to drive, and now we are in the NSMQ semi-finals and I come to say, do you know that we will be kicked out soon? How can you say that? You, a whole champion for women.
I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Can we just cut the part where Israel said, I'm sorry, and just play it over and over and over? So Hearts of Folk lost, I'm sorry. This is it, I'm sorry. Everything. Fantastic. Yeah, okay. So the daily graphic this morning, should I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, very good. 10 billion CD package earmarked. It will support entrepreneurship, says Finance Minister at post-budget workshop. Shun arrogance. Vice President advises heads of SOEs, and Kojo Chikata dies at 85. May his beautiful soul rest in perfect peace. Okay, so just a quick glance through. There's still some fridge sales. You need a sale, you need a fridge. Yeah, see, 1,449. It's not bad.
Just buy one for me.
Biden to hold Africa Summit to boost cooperation in some international news, media, information literacy as public good. So there's this Black Friday sale that we are purporting to have. up to 50% off. I don't know about that. The proper Black Friday sales, they are sales, pal. Have you ever gone to queue for the Black Friday sales?
Never.
Never. You haven't lived. Oh my God. It's something else. I think
I haven't lived abroad before.
You don't have to live abroad to queue for Black Friday. You could be on a holiday or something.
Yeah, I haven't encountered it.
Okay.
Never been there. It's fine.
You've never been there around that time.
No, it's fine for you to say that I've never lived. It's okay. I know you've lived.
That's not the point, though. I'm just saying. Anyway, Black Friday.
Next time you should take me along.
Okay. Okay, Daily Graphic is really full of, wow. Okay, sales.
They're only saying that buy one for Israel.
Okay, shun arrogance. The vice president has advised heads of SOEs. Wow. He said in the conduct of their duties, they shouldn't be arrogant. Rather, he urged them to conduct their activities in humility in order to win the support of workers as well as their clients. Okay, help revive traditional values among children. Former First Lady tells African writers. When shepherds become butchers, leadership failure in Africa. Wow. Venture into your own businesses. That's Dr. Baumia to graduates. He's saying that when you finish school, this was at the University of Mines and Technology, the public sector wouldn't shut its door to graduates, the vice president said, but it's also important for them to know there was much to gain from setting up their own businesses. Okay, there's a lot of things coming towards Farmers' Day, which is going to be happening, I think, in about 2 weeks or so. Sanitation workers not in frontline COVID-19 fight, that's according to some research that has been done. More sales. Okay, when the world converged on Glasgow. So that's the climate conference. It's a feature on what happened there. UNESCO Ghana, 75 years of partnership and development. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff about UNESCO and what happened in Glasgow. I think for about maybe 20 pages or so. So if you'd like to catch up on that, then let's do that. More sales. Mobile money.
One message to you.
Mobile money to outstrip check transactions. That's according to CIB. So apparently in the first 4 months of 2021, the usage of mobile money in non-cash retail payments overtook the traditional check transactions in the country, which is why it's being taxed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it seems to have become our main mode of payment. What's the last time you used a check?
Don't recall.
It's been a while, hasn't it? Yeah. Okay, why leading from within is the only meaningful way to lead. Okay, and that's a feature. Okay, there's a 3-year remembrance thing for Honorable Emmanuel Kwabena Echampon Tremantin Ejako. He died 3 years ago. His soul continued to rest in peace. No withholding tax on gold exports from January 2022. That's according to the minister. Police restoring public trust and confidence. That's according to the IGP. 2021 BC ends amidst jubilation. I remember when I was in school and we finished BC and we were so excited and jubilating, and our headmistress was like, how can you jubilate when you don't know whether you did well or not? So it was like, save the jubilation for when you get your results, you know? But then again, if you've learned and you've answered the thing well, you kind of know.
At that point, you know, because of the pressure you have to go through during
the
exams,
it's just the
relief.
Yeah. Okay, so more ads. Wow, more ads. Charlie Graphic, you guys, you didn't make money, pal.
Graphic is talking to you.
There's a lot of ads. PwC calls for hard work to achieve 2022 budget targets. That's also in the Daily Graphic. There's a lot of job vacancies as well. So if you're at home and you're watching us and you're looking for a job, maybe you want to grab the Daily Graphic. Ghanaian flagged vessel delivered to support Ghana's offshore operations. So this is expected to boost local content drive to guarantee Ghanaian dominance in the local oil and gas production space. Okay, Dodbe outpoints Diaz in boxing. Hard to make amends in Confed Cup against JS Saura on Sunday. we will see how that'll go. And of course, Kotoko beats Wonders to maintain lead. So whilst one team is trying to make amends, another team is in a comfortable lead. Not General Mosquito's kind of comfortable lead, but an actual comfortable lead. And that's it for the Daily Graphic this morning.
All right, let's get...
you don't have anything to say about Hearts and Kotoko?
No.
Oh, why?
Congratulations to Kotoko. But you don't decide the league after 4 matches. If we're to decide the league...
I like how you are just being like, wins don't matter.
No. If we are to decide the league after 4 matches, look, Arsenal would have won the league on the first day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you are comparing Hearts of Oak to Arsenal?
No.
That's an all-time low for you, Israel. How can you even do that?
That's not the way we look at leagues, okay?
All right. All I know is you're comparing Arsenal to Hearts of Oak. So.
Let's go to the Ghanaian Times. 2022 budget fallout. Majority-minority clash over e-levy ahead of debate in Parliament. And the debate is supposed to be starting tomorrow. And it will be interesting. But let's get into the story itself. Essentially, it's the minority and majority. They disagree. The majority and minority caucuses in Parliament are currently on a head-on collision following the introduction of government's proposal to place 1.75% tax on all electronic financial transactions, popularly referred to as the e-levy. The minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, during a post-budget workshop in Hull on Saturday, said the tax was a disincentive to investments and private sector development. Our concern is whether the e-levy itself will not be a disincentive to the growth of a digital economy in our country. We are convinced that the e-levy may as well even be a disincentive to investment and private sector development in the country. However, the Deputy Minister of Finance, Dr. John Kuma, explained that the 100 cedi limit for e-levy was meant to protect the poor and vulnerable in society. So, yes, the conversations are going on, but I believe there's still quite a bit of fine-tuning to be done when it comes to the e-levy and a lot more clarity on how the law or the levy will be applied. Also, in the Ghanaian Times, 1 shot, 3 injured in chieftaincy dispute in Yellow Krobo. So 1 person was shot while 3 others were inflicted with machete wounds following a chieftaincy dispute at Yellow Krobo district in the Eastern region. 3 of the victims have been treated and discharged from the Itua Government Hospital, while the one who was shot in the shoulder was referred to the Eastern Regional Hospital in Koforidua. Lands Minister orders Ahafo Retsec to clamp down illegal activities of 2 groups. Chief Justice establishes tax court. Okay? So if you don't pay your Momo tax, then they can fast-track you through the tax court. Youth unemployment threat to peace, stability of country. That's talked by a further the 14th, saying that. And Sudan's military to reinstate ousted Prime Minister. Mass arrest, ethnic profiling, haunt Ethiopia. And prominent Somali journalist killed in bomb attack. That's in Africa News. And teen gunman acquittal divides US. You know the story about the young man who was acquitted, Kyle Rittenhouse, after he had shot dead 2 people during racial unrest last year. He's been cleared of all the charges, and people are outraged. And, well, essentially, he says he did it in self-defense.
Okay.
And so he's been cleared. Gunman kills 1, injures 3 in Jerusalem. In the Netherlands, other parts of Europe see protests over new COVID-19 restrictions. And then on the back of that, there's one country, I think Austria, so they've imposed a lockdown.
Oh, okay, because of
soaring COVID-19.
Wow.
Yeah. Ghana secures $74 million to improve water sanitation services. That's the Sanitation Water Resources Minister saying that. And internal political party process breed corruption. Walanyo Mensah is alleging. That's the executive director of the Center for Greater Impact. Then stronger partnerships between MPs assemblies will strengthen local governance. Amin Adam saying that. Let's move to Page 15. Minority will kick against e-levy. Yaruna Idrisu saying that. And in the center spread, MPs attend budget workshop ahead of debate. And we're ready to admit all successful BEC candidates. Reverend Intim Fojo, that's the Deputy Minister for Education, saying that. That's reassuring that all BEC candidates will get admission into SHS. Who marks World Toilet Day? And moving on, 545 persons vaccinated against yellow fever in Upper West region. We know that there's been a number of incidents there in that region. Then prioritize TVET education to develop potential of youth. Rwandan High Commissioner to African leaders. Then Deputy Trade Minister markets Ghana as right place for investment. Will support mining industry to thrive. And Supreme Court rejects any VTOL application. Okay. Fintech companies to form national association. And Liverpool end Arsenal's unbeaten run as Gerard Dean Smith get dream starts. Javi secures first Barca win. Okay, so things may be turning around for good for Barcelona following the hiring of Javi Hernandez. And FIFA charges intercontinental playoffs to single leg format. Ole has been sacked. Sure.
Oh,
yeah, eventually.
Ole,
Ole no go.
Oh, wow. Look at you trolling another team. Wow.
Okay, so that Kotoko maintain perfect start. Yeah. So that's it.
Okay, let me do the daily guide. Nana back after leave.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. I mean, so, okay, no comment. Kojo Chikata is dead. NDC minority rebels against e-levy. And Deputy Finance Minister explains the e-levy. Okay, so President Akufo-Addo is expected to resume work today after going on a 7-day leave. The president started his leave on Saturday, November 13, and according to Eugene, the Director of Communications, the president needed a much-deserved rest during the reading of the budget. Okay, president will go on a leave, and then anyway, he's back. There was a bit of some noise about the whole private jet issue again that he traveled with, but anyway.
That's during the leave?
Yeah, that he went on leave with. I saw a post. I need to check it out about them. The hiring of a $14,000 an hour. I think it was President Mahama, ex-President Mahama, who actually put that out there, that they had hired a $14,000 an hour jet for the trip.
For the president to go on leave.
Something like that. Yeah. So anyway, we are tired. We have talked about this and we are tired. So people should do what you want to do. Sudan's military freeze PM held for weeks after coup. 600 migrants rescued from 2 trailers in Mexico. Further unrest in Netherlands amid COVID protests. So rioters torched cars in Rotterdam on Friday evening in protest over new COVID-19 restrictions. So police opened fire on protests in Rotterdam amid what the port city's mayor called an orgy of violence, leaving 2 people seriously injured. In The Hague on Saturday night, young people set fire in the streets and threw fireworks at officers. Now, 2 soccer matches in the top professional league had to be briefly halted after fans who were banned from matches under a partial lockdown broke into stadiums in the town of Alkmaar and Almelo. So Netherlands is also struggling with another wave of COVID-19. So this COVID-19 has not been easy on the Western world at all.
Yeah, and there's this article that's out where they're wondering what is it about Africa that, of course, a lot of people felt that Africa was going to be devastated by COVID-19.
Is there one COVID,
it turns out Africa has actually been spared.
Yeah, because honestly, I think if it was as bad as Italy or China or whatever, we would have been devastated.
Yeah.
Like we'll all be dead right now.
Yeah.
It would be a land that's laid
because we're that continent with the least
amount of resources, especially health-wise.
People vaccinated. We've just done about 6%.
Yeah. And yet, it's like, you know, you can actually go through town these days, not wear a mask. Like everybody just, they chill. Like, you know, it's like, it's interesting. We're thankful.
Let's keep the masks
Let's keep the masks on and let's get vaccinated. But I think I think this is one of the times where we should have like a national Thanksgiving service or whatever, because we've had Thanksgiving services for less, you know, and actually just really thank God about how it's been, because it would have been something else. Okay, let me do some entertainment. Yeah, Davido to give $250 million free cash to charity.
No. That should be wrong. It's not $250 million. It should be maybe naira.
It says Nigerian Afrobeat singer Davido has revealed plans to give away the $250 million.
No.
So you think it's naira?
It's naira.
$250 million naira.
He doesn't have $250 million.
He received from his followers to charity. The money was given out as a donation, as he asked fans to send him
I'm sure it's a typo. Well, I mean, last week you were ranting that you had asked for money, for donations.
And they had,
It turned out that he's actually giving the money back.
Well, we don't know whether he was going. He said he wanted the money to clear his Rolls Royce.
He just said something.
Okay, anyway, he added 50 million naira as well. Okay, so 250. I don't know how much that is in dollars. So Adele gets Spotify to take shuffle button of all album pages. Vlisco unveils 2 new designs.
This is an interesting story. I heard a bit of that on the BBC this morning. So essentially, they're saying that they put so much effort into arranging the way the songs should flow in an album.
So when you shuffle it and
when
it
you
just
shuffle, you
picks it haphazardly,
they want the songs
the story
to flow
to be
that
told.
way.
Yeah. It's very important because, you know, it either follows the beats per minute or it's actually a story that is being told progressively, and you want to listen to the whole album before you pick your favorite. So if you shuffle it. Okay, just give me 1 second. Let me read my horoscope. Kofi Kinata to host 3 events in 2 cities. Pose for Africa models, sells Ghana, and GIPC launches Taste of Ghana 2.0. On the back page, Kotoko maintain winning ways. Man U sacks Solskjaer. Ole Ghana Soya. And Bichem United appoints Uruguayan director.
Okay, let's quickly go through the other newspapers we have. So in the Daily Statesman, Karaga MP initiates scholarship scheme for Best 20 BC students. I'm not at NLA for politics. Sami Uku assures his focus is revenue mobilization. John Kuma, elevy is progressive. Baumia Lords, BOG, others over efficient payment systems. And then in the Daily Dispatch, secure Gulf of Guinea from security threats. Chief of Staff is saying that. Nungwa chiefs angry over land matters. Africa's 10 World Cup hopefuls. The story is on page 11. And then when you come to the Finder, digitization improving efficiency in energy sector, Dr. Puku Prempe, the energy minister. Dispute over land for Achimansan District Hospital settled. Captain Kojo Chikata dies at 85. Commercial activities on Shaney iron ore deposit start in 2022. That's a GISDEC saying that. And elevy is a bitter, sweet pill. To bridge revenue deficit for development, reducing it to 1% or lower can change minds. And Elvis Darko has done a brilliant piece, quite comprehensive piece on the elevy and why he thinks the elevy is a bitter, sweet pill. And I think it's something you should get to read. He makes reference to the communication service tax. And we seem to have forgotten about the communication service tax because that tax is also there. And he was complaining about how she went to buy ice cream.
And waffles.
And you were, at the end of the day...
The cost of the food was 99 cedis and the tax was 33.
That's significant.
Yeah, so it came up to 133.
So in your case, I believe the tourism levy...
Yeah, so VAT, NHIL, and then the tourism levy as well. But I mean, to spend 1/3 of the value of the food on tax, because 33 cedis is a lot when the food costs 99 cedis.
And then if you have to pay with Momo,
then there's 1.75.
Okay, but so you see, for me, as far as this e-levy is concerned, I agree that it widens the tax net because then it affects just about everybody else. Except what it does, it puts an extra burden on people who are already paying the tax.
Yeah.
So widening the tax net should see everybody pay tax.
As opposed to increasing on those who already pay so that you can get those who don't pay to come in. Yeah.
Okay, so if we insist or if we want to go with the e-levy, which widens the tax net, then we may as well say those who are already paying direct taxes should be exempted, or let's scrap direct taxes and let everybody pay e-levy. Widens the tax net.
I don't know if we have the mental and capacitacious infrastructure to discriminate like that.
Otherwise, let's fine-tune it so that there's no extra burden on the people who are already, because what we've been saying all this while is that there's just a few people who have been paying taxes.
Yeah, so why are you taxing them more in order to get, I get it. I get it. I just don't know if we have the capacity to do that, or if we actually even care enough to set up a system like that. But anyway, maybe My Joy Online really quickly before we get to the sports. Should we do? Okay, so headline, landlady threatens to close down NPP's Ashanti region head office over rent arrears. That's interesting. Majority constantly undermining Speaker because he is not part of the ruling party. That's Ablakwa. NSMQ 2021, Prempeh College thrashes CAS and Sugakope SHS to secure spots in semis. Exempt some services from e-levy. That's Theory Champion. NSMQ 2021. KNUST SHS sprints past the Bleo boys into the semi-finals. Local tourism development can reduce dependency on central government. E-levy, the best way to build a young entrepreneurial nation. That's according to Ken Fariata. Owas, Dams, Ganas, and Oda SHS to set up epic all Kumasi semi-final. Residents of Dalun demonstrate over bad roads. And that's it for My Joy Online this morning. But remember that we will be talking NSMQ later on in the show.
Yeah.
So we'll dedicate some time to really just celebrate the schools that have gone through and really just laugh at the ones that haven't.
Why do you have to laugh at them?
Because that's the whole point of... Did you see Kojo Jackson's face when his school was kicked out? How do you let a moment like that pass in your life? Never. Unfortunately, I won't be here to join you in the laughing, but I will be here in spirit. We're going on
there'll be no laughing.
We're going on a short break. When we come back, Oreku Ampofo brings you the sports. Stay tuned in.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM Sports with me, Oreku Ampofo, where we do bring you up to date with the biggest stories coming in from the weekend. And we'll be starting off with some boxing news and some good news for Ghanaians because Isaac Dogbe took another step towards becoming a two-time world champion after winning his bout over the weekend. Now, he beat Christopher Diaz in Las Vegas on Saturday night. And the fight, which was on the undercard of Terence Crawford and Sean Porter showdown, saw Dogbe win on 2 of the judges' scorecard to edge a very close contest.
What's up, guys? My name is Sammy Forson, host of the Weekend City Show and Ignition right here on Joy 99.7 FM. Well, anytime you happen to be busy and you miss out on your favorite shows right here on Joy FM, here's what you can do. Log on to myjoyonline.com/podcast. Just go on there and you'll find all your shows on demand 24/7. There you can catch up. Remember, Joy FM remains your radio for discerning listeners.
Yes, I'm okay. Now, this is the AM show coming to you live from Fana Fasuko Kumili. My name is Israel Lai. It's a brand new week, all right, but the issues from the 2022 budget are still dominating discussions, particularly the 1.75% levy government wants to impose on all electronic money transactions and what have become known as the Momo tax. Government believes this is the one way to widen the tax net and ensure almost everyone contributes their share of taxes needed for the development of the country. But it's clear there needs to be some fine-tuning and clarity as to how the levy will be applied. Joining me for this conversation this morning is Sam George, MP for Ningo Pram Pram. He's in the studio with us. Good morning to you, Sam George. And then we'd also have some other guests who are going to be joining us in a bit, particularly the Economic Writers League, who are part of the Fix the Country movement, and they're saying that they're kicking against the levy. And so there's going to be a demonstration coming up on Friday. But ahead of the demonstration, they're holding a news conference today. We'll get to hear from them exactly what their position is on the e-levy and why they want to embark on a demonstration over that. But I want to start with you, Sam George. The minority says it's going to kick against the bill, but we've heard the finance minister who's saying that, look, this is a tax that is necessary. I want us to actually listen or hear from the finance minister what he had to say over the weekend, and then we'll come into the conversation. So let's hear from the finance minister.
So this historic 10 billion intervention that we have had, and finding ways for burden sharing. So we recognize the problems of youth unemployment, the problem of growth, the problem of debt, and we as a nation decide to burden share to break this intractable problem. So it's very exciting seeing the support that he has garnered and seeing some of the entrepreneurs here who are here. And it gives me hope that where we are going with the e-levy is the right way to do that.
It's interesting that you mentioned the e-levy. There are already concerns out there that
there
the
e-levy
amounts to double taxation and inimical to entrepreneurship that
well,
we
if you look at your 2.2 million youth in 1960 to 10.8 million youth, it cannot be that we do things as we do them always. And I think we all need to stretch our minds as to what we want to curtail. The indignity of not having a job, I think, should really manage how the world economy is moving into more of an e-line economy. The old tax handles might not be different. And as you bring these things on, you tweak them with time. But the clarity of understanding that we cannot continue to have this youth problem, we cannot continue to not have our roads built, we cannot continue to not look at our debt. I think it's in front of us. And usually a change, brings these things, but I think the change should be how do we make this efficient and move forward. But in terms of everybody not liking taxes, always will be that. So we have, maybe a month of discussions of Parliament, but once the objective is clear, we'll get to some efficiency. And I really want the youth to go behind us to say that, let's talk for jobs.
You talked about discussions with Parliament. I've been speaking to the minority leader, and he describes it as opportunistic and defeatist, and says that the minority is not going to cooperate with when it comes to this particular e-levy. I don't know what your response is to this.
Well, I mean, Biden went through his 1.3 trillion, there were discussions, but in the end, where does Ghana, the Republic, want to go, And so we'll discuss, but as long as we are clear on eliminating this unemployment benefit, I think we'll find a way to cooperate and build the nation and move forward. So it's not an unfamiliar position with opposition, but I'm sure we all have the good sense of one language, the Republic in hand, and we'll get there as one people.
Right, so that was Finance Minister Fariata, and in the studio with me, as I indicated earlier, I have Sam George, MP for Ningo Pram Pram, and good morning to you once again. Now, this conversation, you're very well placed. I think you're one of the best placed people from the minority to speak to it because you understand the technicalities involved. Why is the minority opposed to the levy?
Well, let me say good morning to you and to our viewers and to the good people of Ningo Pram Pram. This e-levy is at best a taxation Ponzi scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme that is targeted at maximizing profit at the detriment of people who put their money in. And I'll just give you the statistics. Government is looking to raise between 7 and 8 billion from the e-levy, largely on the back of Momo transactions. The total amount of money on float in the country in 2020, which is the real cash that people have put into the mobile money ecosystem, is 8 billion. Government is looking at the total value of transactions, which is 571.9 billion, and saying we're going to make 8 billion out of it. But what they fail to realize is the real cash in there is 8 billion. So in 1 year, government is basically going to take out all the cash in the ecosystem. Because you see,
how did you come by the 8 billion being the real cash?
Oh, that's figures from the Bank of Ghana. The banks actually, the mobile, the mobile money business is not regulated by the NT and the Ministry of Communication. It's regulated by the Bank of Ghana.
Yes.
And so the companies are meant to keep cash in float by the law Parliament passed. And that's the fiscal cash. It's domiciled with the Bank of Ghana. It's held on float. We call it cash on float. It's 8 billion. It's 8 billion. You can check from the Bank of Ghana.
Okay, so
basically what they're
doing... It may be cash on float.
Yes.
But if we're understand that the 570 billion that's moving, it's money that's actually moving around.
No, it's 8 billion moving around in multiples. Because what happens is I load 10,000 CDs onto the ecosystem. Now, when I load that 10,000 CDs, when you're looking at the total value of transactions, it records as 10,000. I move 5,000 out of that 10,000 to you. It records it as plus 5,000. So now in the ecosystem, it sees value of transaction at 15,000. But real cash that's there is still 10,000.
Okay, so I understand the multiplier bit of the transactions.
Yes.
As in 10,000, you move 10,000 maybe 10 times.
It becomes, the system will record it as 100,000.
Yes.
But it is 10,000 in the system.
But I'd still need to get the cash float where you're saying that it's 8 billion.
Yes, and the Bank of Ghana reports, I think, quarterly on mobile money. And that's how we got the 571 billion total value of transactions. In that same report, they state that the fiscal cash is 8 billion.
Okay.
You get it. So it's on the basis of that we're doing this extrapolation. So I'm saying to you that a taxation that takes out the real value of the money in 1 year is going to collapse the mobile money industry. Because if you're taking that out, you're basically taking out the capital of the business. Because, look, you have a corporate governance system that is against double taxation. And that's why corporate entities that pay taxes in other regimes, once they're able to show that to our local tax authorities, are exempted from some of those taxes. Because, international practice is against double taxation. Now, what you have our government do is not just do double taxation, but multiple layers of taxation. So the same 10,000, I'm using that same 10,000 example. I got paid 10,000 because I work for Multimedia. Multimedia, in transferring that 10,000 to me, pays a 1.75 e-levy because they did a bank transfer.
Okay, so there's been some clarity to the effect that the bank transfer, this kind of bank transfer that you're talking about, is exempted.
Who is giving you that clarity?
We got that from the Deputy Minister, that's John Kuma.
Well, again, therein lies the policy incoherence. The other Deputy Minister, Charles Edu Boahen, has made it clear that that is taxed. And when you read what the minister presented in the budget statement, I would want to say that my colleague John Kuma was wrong.
Could we also say that, well, government is still in the process of fine-tuning it, which is the issue the point I was making earlier. Government is still fine-tuning it. It's when we have the law eventually passed that we're going to get to know the details.
But Israel, shouldn't you be worried that government has come to announce a policy initiative of this kind in the budget without thinking it through? Look, and maybe I even jumped my presentation too far. The e-levy has 3 components. 1.75 on mobile money transactions, all mobile money transactions. 1.75 on all financial bank transactions. And then 1.75 on all inward remittances. Good. Now, when you take these 3 sectors and you look at it, on the Momo tax, for example, which is the mobile money transactions, I'm asking myself, the Ministry of Communications and the NTA on Friday invited the stakeholders, and critical questions were asked of the ministry. They had no answer. The NTA had no answer. So government has introduced a levy in our budget, which is supposed to kick in on the 1st of January And you expect me as a member of parliament to approve that budget, approve the policy, approve the estimates, and approve appropriations. There are 3 steps in the budget approval cycle. For a policy that government doesn't understand, a policy that is that's why we as a minority, we won't approve this. Because we pay you as our Ministry of Finance to understand the tax policy initiatives. If you don't understand the policy, and that's why I would make a categoric statement here. Next year, bring me to your studio on today's what? Today's 22nd. Bring me 22nd of November 2022, God sparing our lives. And by then, we would have had the budget read. And I'm putting it to you that they would not raise the amounts that they claim they will raise. There will be a revenue shortfall on this tax, even if they're able to push it through. Because, you see, because they haven't thought through it, because they're looking at the total value of transactions, because they're failing to understand the effect of such a tax. I'll give you a typical example. In Uganda, it affected revenues, Momo revenues, and Momo transactions by 80%.
What was the percentage they came up with in Uganda?
In Uganda, I need to check exactly what percentage they charged.
But it was a lot more, I mean, much more than the 1.75% that we're looking at.
But again, in Uganda, you need to ask yourself, what was the strength of the market? How long had the market run? Look, mobile money markets.
That's also another issue.
Yes, mobile money, and I've heard persons from the finance ministry saying that Ghana's business, mobile money business, is deeper than those economies. That's a blatant lie. Mobile money came to Ghana from Kenya. M-Pesa was the first mobile money trading ever. Kenya had been running M-Pesa. M-Pesa is worth more than it is here, than mobile money is here in Ghana. Yet in Kenya, when they introduced it, they saw a 43% dip in transaction values and use. The governments have had to reverse the policy after 2 years. Go to Spain. Spain introduced the digital tax. In 1 year, in 2019, it cost the Spanish digital economy 592 billion euros. That's the effect. So it's not an African thing. Okay? Now, the point we're making here is this. You cannot, first and foremost, the telcos asked the ministry and the NCA, you want us to implement this on the 1st of January. But you're saying I should exempt persons who do not do transactions less than 100 Ghana cedis. Now, you don't have an interconnect clearing house of sorts for mobile money. It exists for the banks. So if I go with my ATM to an Absa Bank ATM and withdraw 2,000 from my 3,000, if I move within 5 minutes or even a minute to a Zenith Bank ATM, the ATM, even though it's different banks, will not allow me to withdraw that 2,000 again because there's a connected system that they run. Mobile money doesn't run that way. So if you are saying...
What about the mobile money interoperability?
Interoperability allows you to transfer money and receive money across platforms. However, it does not share a common operating platform that allows them to see balances of individuals. So this is the question. I have 100 Ghana cedi maximum threshold, but I have 3 lines. And don't forget, even with your SIM registration, you're allowing me to have up to 10 SIM cards. So on Vodafone, I do 40 Ghana cedis to my mother. Then I go to Momo, Airtel Tigo, and do another 40 Ghana cedis to my father. I've done 80 cedis in the day.
Yeah.
Now I go on MTN, and I want to buy data bundle of 100 Ghana cedis. That will cross me beyond the 100 Ghana cedi a day threshold.
Yes.
However, MTN is unable to tell what other transactions I have done on my Airtel money or on my Vodafone money.
Well, that's
so you realize how this policy is set up to fail. And I'm doing this to teach people how to beat this flawed policy. Because you can do 99 CD, 99 CD, 99 CD on 3 different networks.
No, but that's for the benefit of the consumer, which is fine. It is fine.
And there are several other ways to beat the system. Because it's not a properly thought through system.
Okay, so yes, but so are you then saying that if government thinks through this whole policy, comes up with some changes and modifications, you'll find it acceptable?
No. Because you see, for me, this is a lazy approach to taxation. And I'm not going to sit here. I was fortunate to work with seniors in this industry and in my party on the NDC's IT the telecoms part of our manifesto. And in those meetings, clearly there was a thought about looking at the growing digital economy and imposing some kind of tax measure in there. We could have gone this route. We chose not to in our manifesto. Never. Because for us, we know, look, and I keep saying that this IT journey started under President Kufuor in 2004 with his GH for ICTD, Ghana for ICT Development Policy, 2004. That's the first time Ghana had an ICT policy under President Kufuor. President Mills came in 2008. And then we picked that policy, reviewed it, and started implementation of it. By 2012, when John Mahama took over, between 2013 and 2016, we invested over $350 million to build a backbone that today, Mr. Digitization, everything he says he's doing is running on the back of John Mahama's $350 billion. Which
backbone? What exactly was done
so,
with the backbone?
So all the fiber, basically fiber infrastructure you have in Ghana, your Eastern Corridor fiber, almost 800 kilometers of fiber built by John Mahama, your national data center built by John Mahama, your business process outsourcing centers built by John Mahama, your Accra Metro fiber, Tema Metro fiber, all built by John Mahama. You understand me? So that's what I'm saying, that all of this so-called digital inclusion that we are having was built by, is running on an infrastructure. I mean, anybody who understands IT knows that it doesn't happen in space. There's a backbone that drives it. That backbone was built by John Mahama. I'm just giving you the drivers. I mean, our LTE base stations, about 120 of them, and all of that. Now, all of these base stations and all of this infrastructure has been put in. You claim you're doing digitization, but the question we'll ask ourselves is, and what we asked ourselves was, even 4 years ago, Israel, you go to a shop, big shops, big departmental stores, and they were refusing to accept mobile money payments. You go to Makola and many of your markets, and the women refuse to accept mobile money payments.
But all that has changed now.
It's changed. It's taking us almost 14 years to get people to accept mobile money. Mobile money has been in operation since 2009. Okay, so we're talking about 12 years. It's taken us 12 years to finally get people to begin to accept. Just when they start accepting it, you're bringing in blockers to their use of this. Because now, you see, people sit back and say, okay, if I take mobile cash and I want to go and cash out, or the person transfers to me and I need to transfer to another person, I'm beginning to lose 1.75 of what will be my profit. That is an inhibitive factor. And so where's the NDC? Our policy or thinking was that you need to empower the drivers of the economy. And so we thought, and we believe, and still believe, that there should be no charges on mobile money transactions across. Even the 1% that is charged by the service provider must be scrapped. Not the introduction of another 1.75.
Which we're yet to get clarity as to whether the 1.75 is going to be slapped on.
There's clarity on that.
In addition to the 1%.
It is in addition. There's clarity on that matter. So now the charges are 2.75. And that again leads to a change of business model, which I'll come to. But on the clarity of what we as the NDC would have as an alternative is that you should rather be looking to tax the digital economy itself and not the enablers of the digital economy. The people who are running digital businesses, they're making profit of the digital economy. Now, those are corporate entities. Those are the people you must begin to target.
So which ones specifically would you say? When you say
so take, for example, I offer or I sell clothes online. People come online to my online platform through Instagram, Facebook, and then they place an order, and then I deliver the food to them. There's Jumia. There's the big online stores. Okay.
Apart from the big online stores,
and even the smaller ones. Yes, like I gave you the clothes. I sell clothes. Someone's selling groceries. Someone is selling food and all of those things. Fantastic. Those are the drivers you need. Those are the players in the digital economy who you need to introduce a digital corporate tax on, because they make revenue of the economy, of the digital economy. You tax their revenue as you are taxing the revenue of a regular business that has a shop front that GRA goes to and collects money from. So it is those beneficiaries of the digital economy that you place a tax on. You don't place a tax on those who are empowering the digital economy, because when you then do that, what you do is you make them withdraw from the digital economy and go back to a cash economy. In doing that, you are killing the digital economy. But you see, if you had imposed that digital corporate tax, it's a harder way to go. It's more difficult to implement. And that's why this government is lazy and decided to go for the easy way out and tax basically kill the hen that's laying the golden eggs. But you see, if you had created a platform where you take off all charges for those populating the digital economy, it's free money. It's not free money. It's free for me to put money in the digital economy. I don't get taxed for it. I don't pay for it. But then the guy who is doing business on the digital economy gets to pay a corporate tax. That is a more acceptable way to go about it. Now, even on the financial levy sector one again, you know, and quickly before I go there, on the Momo one, the last thing I saw on the Momo one is when you look at I said it's changing people's business models. There are 3 players in the e-money space, major players: Vodafone Cash, Airtel Tigo Money, and MTN. Airtel Tigo Money and Vodafone Cash realized that they have a challenge with numbers. MTN Momo seems to have lion's share of the economy. So what do? They build a business model to make them sustainable. That business model means that when I transfer money on net, which means from Vodafone to Vodafone, or from Airtel to Airtel, it is free. Even if I'm doing 100,000 Ghana cedis, it's free. No charges. Now, MTN does a charge with a cap of 10 Ghana cedis. So if I send 10,000 cedis on MTN, my service charge capped at 10 Ghana cedis. With the onset of COVID, MTN introduced the 100 CD threshold. So when they say there's a 100 CD grace that they've given, it is not them. It exists already in the market. There is no payments for any transactions under 100 Ghana CD. Now, you are introducing this 1.75. So it means Airtel Tigo and Vodafone Cash, who have built their mobile money business on the model of free on-net transactions, will now have to charge your 1.75 even on net transactions, which is inhibitive to their business model. So you are actually been killing the giant players in that industry. Now, when you go to the bank transactions, I've heard people say, "Oh, but the NDC should shut up." Why should the NDC shut up? Oh, you introduced 17.5 financial services tax. So how dare you talk about 1.75? Now, let's be clear. There's a difference between the two taxes. The NDC's 17.5% financial services tax, which was criticized by the MPP, was not a tax on the value of transaction. It was a tax on the charges of the bank providing the service. It was a service charge. So I'll break it down for you. If you were transferring 100,000 Ghana cedi from St. George to Israel, and my bank charged me 1% of the value of that transaction for doing that transaction, it then meant that 1% of 100,000 is 1,000 Ghana cedis. Now, the NDC's tax was 17.5% of that 1,000, which will come to 17 cedi 50 pesos. Now, the Baumia tax on the same 100,000 is 17.5%.
The e-levy.
But he's the digitization man. So if it's the digital levy, you take the assets and liabilities. When it is 17.5% of the value of the transaction, now 1.75 of the value of transaction, 1.75% of 100,000 transaction I'm doing to you now is 1,750. So under the NDC, with its 17.5 financial service charge, if I transferred 100,000 to you, I paid 17 cedi 50 pesos under the Nanado Baumia Fariata tax. When you transfer the same 100,000, instead of paying 17 cedi 50 pesos, you are paying 1,750. How can this be the same? And then inward remittances.
Yeah. But also, so clearly, would you appreciate it, as I asked you before, if government comes back and says, okay, we're doing some fine-tuning and we're deciding that we're going to, bring down the charges, maybe instead of charging the 1.75% on the amount of money transferred, we're going to do maybe 1.75 on the charges, the bank charges, for instance. Would you find that more acceptable?
Well, we should bear in mind already that even with Momo and I think bank charges, there's already a CST tax element in there already.
That's true.
Government already has a CST tax element in there. So when you are introducing this new e-levy, how different, if you want to now make it on the service charge and not on the value of the money, which is what you're suggesting, which would have been, it's still a lazy approach, but would have been a more considerate approach, you are going to ask yourself, what happens to the CST? Are we making the digital economy another petrol taxation scheme, right, where, every government just comes in and says,
oh, petrol is being over levied. When they come, they just change the nomenclature and increase the taxes on petrol.
Let me bring in one other person who we've invited to the conversation. Collins Aduma-Mensah is MP for Efija Kwabre North. And then we have Ni Ayu of Paris, the national spokesperson for the Economic Fighters League. But I want to start with you, Collins Aduma-Mensah. Good morning and thank you for joining us for the conversation. Hello, good morning, Collins.
Yeah, good morning.
All right. So I'm sure you've heard your colleague, MP for Ningo Pram Sam George, and he's been going on and on about why the minority is going to kick against this e-levy. What's your take on all of that?
Well, good morning to yourself again, and good morning to your viewers and to my very good brother, Sam George. I don't actually remember a time when the NDC or the opposition accepted every detail of a budget after it had been read. So I'm not surprised that the NDC, from the onset, is giving indications that they will have challenges with this particular tax.
Except in this case, they've put out some very fine arguments why they think that this e-levy must be looked at again.
Hello, come again.
I'm saying, except in this instance, they are not just, they're kicking against it, but they've put forward some fine arguments why government would have to look at it again.
And that is why I'm happy about the fact that what government did, what the minister did last week, was the government's proposal.
All right.
And as George is aware, we'll be going into a debate from Tuesday, and then subsequently we'll be breaking into our various committees to analyze and in detail the specifics as regards each ministry. For me personally, I have a few issues with the levy.
All right.
I accept the idea of broadening the tax net, which is something that this particular levy seeks to do. I perfectly get the principle. I think what is left now is for government to explain in detail the mechanics as to how this particular levy is going to be implemented. And I'm sure during the discussion stage, all this will come up. I've had some previous discussions, side discussions with my very good brother, Sam George, and he brought a very fantastic suggestion. And indeed, right after speaking to him, I've had calls to speak to a few of my colleagues. People have challenges with how government utilize money that is given to them. Some have suggested that why don't we create a fund which will be reporting back to Parliament on a quarterly basis to make it clear that Ghanaians become very comfortable as to how the money is being used. These are all suggestions that have come from my good friend George and other people who I've spoken to. And I think as we go into the discussions, the details of it will be made very clear to everybody. But for me, I support 100% the idea of broadening the tax rates, which is what this particular e-levy seeks to do.
All right, thanks for your initial thoughts. And I'll be coming to you, but we also have the Economic Fighters League there with the Fix the Country movement, and they are saying that they also opposed to it. They're looking at having a demonstration on Friday. Good morning to you. I want to find out from you why this demonstration against the e-levy.
All right. Greetings to your viewers out there, to the Honourable Minister and then a Member of Parliament, Sam George, and to Ghanaians out there, the youth of Ghana. Our frustration is not just with this e-levy, but with the entire budget, the 2022 budget. And we of the Economic Fighters League, and indeed as co-conveners of the Fix the Country movement, we are speaking on behalf of the masses of Ghanaians. And if you listen carefully to the budget, there's really nothing in it that speaks to the socio-economic conditions of the people. It's nothing more than empty promises that we listen to. And I wish we would get to the point where we begin to measure the success of successive governments based on their yearly budget reports. Because indeed, the budget is a document where, like my senior colleague just said, it's a proposal that government puts before the people of Ghana and say, we want you to acknowledge and approve this amount of money for us because these are the activities or projects we want to embark on. or the policies that we want to embark on, with the promise that these policies that they are introducing would bring about better living standards for the people, or better living conditions. But year in, year out, we have the budgets approved. They end up spending even more than they ask for in Parliament, but we do not see any tangible effect on the lives of the ordinary Ghanaian. So our challenges, or our frustration, is not just with the e-levy. Indeed, that is very insensitive. It's coming at a time when Ghanaians have been hit very hard by the whole COVID pandemic. People have lost their jobs. Unemployment is on the rise. And we're expecting the government to issue or bring out policies that will help to elevate the suffering of the people. But to slap extra taxes on, in fact, this government is throwing about taxes as if it was confectionaries for the holiday season. But we were hoping that policies would have come to make life a little bearable and easy for the Ghanaian people. But obviously, that's not what this 2022 budget seeks to do. So that is why we are going to organize and make sure that our voices are heard. And indeed, we convey the suffering of the masses of the people so they can hear.
All right, so it's fine for you to criticize the e-levy and the other things that's in the budget, but it's also helpful that when you criticize, you indicate how differently you'd want government to approach these things. So are you putting any proposals, counter proposals on the table?
Sure. Consistently, we've not just been criticizing government, but we've been preferring alternative ideas, and it looks as if they fall on deaf ears. One of the things that we have pushed consistently is that we would have wished for government to pay more attention to production rather than taxation. And indeed, this sounds familiar because the current Vice President, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, had said this in the run-off to 2016 election, that it was a lazy approach to engage in taxation, and that continuous taxation will actually stifle growth. And when there's no growth, there's no revenue generation. And indeed, when there's no revenue generation, you'll be forced to tax again. He then says that this is an engagement in a cyclical downward spiral. So we had hoped that, and indeed we put forward ideas that we should focus on production. And if you permit me with a few minutes, I could run through some of the ideas we push forward. We have said production or manufacturing is the basis of any economy, apart from agriculture. So you take the produce that you're producing from agriculture, those are raw materials, and then you add value to them. That is what will help in generating revenue internally. So any government that is really serious about transforming the life of the economy would actually pay more attention to production. But this presupposes that you have to pay attention to your power generation capacity. As it stands, Ghana is having quite a substantial amount of generation capacity for energy, but most of it is run on light crude oil, which is relatively expensive. So we have the generation capacity, but we're not firing on all cylinders. We have said it would make more sense to invest in sustainable energy sources, greener energy sources, and you're looking at waste to energy and other technologies that are abundant in the world today. We have said that infrastructure is one other key place or key factor in developing or growing your economy. But then again, development in infrastructure is not an accident. It has to be carefully and purposefully planned. In that, if you look at, for instance, our road sector, roads are not built for the comfort of the citizens. That is not the first major primary objective of roads. Roads are supposed to connect your industries to your markets. So then a typical example would be the cocoa roads. These connect the cocoa growing communities to the market centers, and it aids in the fast movement of cocoa produce for export and trade. Now, this generates revenue. So you find out that in the shortest possible time, cocoa roads are able to pay for themselves and actually support the building of other roads nationwide. This is how development is supposed to be planned with infrastructure. Again, you're looking at your skilled labor, because if you're going to go into production or industrialization, you need a skilled labor. But our current educational system is not focusing on manufacturing or industry. We raise people I like to call administrators, who go into white-collar jobs, sit behind computers and key in figures, which is not really generating any revenue. We should have looked at the development of science and technology or technical skills. This is what actually goes to drive industrialization. But our educational system is not paying attention to this.
No,
another thing is...
so for all the things that you talk about, it requires funding and resources. So government believes that unless we've been able to widen the tax net to get a broad base of taxes, we are unable to do a lot of these things. And that's why they're talking about this e-levy, which they say touches virtually everybody else. So my question is, what are your proposals or counter proposals to ensure that we have a tax that is able to bring in or cover as many people as possible?
All right. So I don't think the issue is with paying of taxes, because if you look consistently, we've even though the outrageous, we still end up paying. But the issue now is on trust. Ghanaians do not trust this current administration, indeed successive administrations, with handling the public purse. In that we've seen how much we've paid contributing to the tax and development issues, but we don't see any return for the money or value for the money. And that is why most Ghanaians are raising issues. Because Ghanaians, I don't believe Ghanaians would have a problem sacrificing a little bit more if it were going to translate into fiscal tangible results. To generate more revenue, if you look at the Auditor General's report, it's shown that we've lost some 12 billion Ghanaian cedis. That's about some $2 billion US dollars through corrupt practices. And I don't even like to use the word corrupt. This is open thievery, stealing. And that is one of the main drains of our revenue. So it's not that we're not getting enough tax revenue, it is that there's no accountability and most of those monies are stolen.
Yeah.
So if we could actually check corruption, we would have some $2 billion US dollars to support some of these projects you're talking about.
Which is like twice the 6.9 billion cedis that government is looking to raise from the e-levy. Let me put that question to Collins. Now, so you've heard Niayu Opari who's saying that if government will do a lot more, or governments will do a lot more to tackle corruption, we probably do not need the 6.9 billion cedis we're seeking to raise from Momo tax.
I'm saying, Asia, I wish you'd have made me land on my point. I was going to throw in one more thing you can now shift to our honorable members of parliament.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So one other thing is, if you look at, it's surprising when Honorable Sam George, and this is not a personal attack on him, but it's interesting to find out how the opposition tries to play this as if it's just an MPP thing. No, if indeed they believe they want to do better for Ghanaians, if you look at the excesses that they are taking home in luxury spending and emoluments, you find out that it's actually a bigger drain on the economy. And I'm talking about Article 71 office holders. The benefits and the luxuries that they are taking is actually a very, very huge drain on our limited resources or our national coffers. So indeed, I was expecting that if they really want to prove that they stand with the people or they sympathize with the masses of the Ghanaian people, they would have made certain sacrifices on certain benefits or allowances they are taking, which we believe are wasteful. For instance, a member of parliament will be taking what we've come to call a kilometric allowance, that for every journey that they pay, with taxpayers' monies that we've bought V8 for them and fueled those cars for them, they take kilometric allowances. And that's about 3.5 cedis per every kilometer traveled. This is extortion. So indeed, if they want to show that they really sympathize with the Ghanaian people, some of these things have to be, let's go. I mean, you have all the luxuries you're taking. You don't pay tax on most of your things. Accommodations provided for you. I mean, people are taking belt hook allowances and button allowances. These are useless expenditure, which is straining or burdening the national coffers. So indeed, prove your words. If you think you really sympathize with the people, and you want to show that you really do, some of these benefits and allowances have to be sacrificed by members of parliament, or indeed all Article 71 holders. Thank you.
All right, so I'll come to you, Collins. So he makes the point that, if government to check corruption, government would not need the 6.9 billion cedis is seeking to raise from Momo tax.
Well, first of all, I don't get belt hook allowance. I don't know whether my good friend George does. I don't get it.
I'll give him an opportunity to respond to that as well.
But I agree with him perfectly on the issue of corruption. I've looked at the Auditor General's report, and I was happy when you used the word successive governments. I mean, if you look at the Auditor General's report, every government, every year, there are issues that are raised. But the point I always make is that democracy without checks and balances is the worst form of military rule. Once you don't put in checks and balances, then there's an issue. The problem is that we watch Public Accounts Committee sessions every day. How many people have been charged and punished for all these issues that comes up? That has always been my issue. Successive governments, including mine, you should be bold enough to ensure that people who are found culpable for misapplying public funds are punished. Once you don't punish them, it gives impetus, it gives some kind of energy to other persons to do the same. So I agree with my brother perfectly.
So why is it that, Collins, so why is it that the government you belong to or the party you belong to is not charging the people?
I'm saying that I don't want it to be an MPP NDC matter. The point he raised was a very national issue.
I agree, but your party is in government right now, so I can ask you.
And as I was speaking, I did say that successive government, including mine, we come to Public Accounts Committee, we listen to all the issues that come up. Unfortunately, of course, Public Accounts Committee or Parliament does not have the power to prosecute. But when their recommendations are given out to, when they are done with their job, I expect the next responsible authority to take it up and punish people. Once you don't punish, every year, my brother will be here to be discussing the same issue. Once you don't punish them, it becomes like it's normal. People will do the same. So I agree with him perfectly.
So how do you feel, Collins, that the one Auditor General who sought to do that apparently had a running with government?
Well, that is a different discussion if you want us to go into that. That's a different discussion altogether. I don't have the entire details of why we have an issue with the government. But I believe that everything that happened and governments on several occasions have given reasons for what happened. I mean, it was time for him to go on retirement. The laws allowed him to move on retirement. Government took a decision. I think we can have a separate discussion about that.
All right.
What is important?
Yeah.
And even this current Auditor General, I'm sure my brother Niai was quoting from the current Auditor General's report, which was conducted by this current Auditor General. So it doesn't matter who was there or who was not there. What is important is for the Auditor General to do his job as stipulated by law. That's all.
All right, so let me come to Sam George. So the issue about kilometric allowance, Niai is making the point that this kilometric allowance, it's a rip-off, and that if you are actually committed to ensuring that we protect the public purse, probably the MPs should be talking about, you're reviewing the benefits that come to you, the emoluments that come to you as MPs.
Okay, first and foremost, I would expect that, and I take it in good faith. He premised it by saying it wasn't a personal attack, so it's something about all MPs. I think I'll use this opportunity to help my brother Niai, my grandbrother, so that he doesn't repeat these untruths anywhere, because it would be very embarrassing. He's a national spokesperson for the Economic Freedom Fighters League. It is incorrect. It is a lie. Let's just call it. It's a lie that MPs get cars bought for them and fuel for them. No MP receives fuel for their cars near E. That's the first point. That's a lie you told, and never repeat it anywhere again. No MP gets fuel for their cars. Don't confuse MPs with members of the executive or with members of the judiciary. And people always do this when they are talking about the three arms of government. They focus on parliament. Ministers may get fuel. MPs don't get fuel. Now you talk about kilometric allowance. How much I get when parliament is rising, not every time I move. Parliament rises 3 times in a year. So when he says that every time you move your car, you get kilometric allowance, that's a lie again. Now when the kilometric allowance, when I move, for example, when I went to Parliament in 2017, my allowance from Accra to Pram Pram, as calculated, to take me and bring me back, was 168 Ghana cedis. So is that what is draining the public purse? 168 Ghana cedis? There was a review. And from 2020, when we rose recently, in August thereabout, what I got to Pram Pram was 585 Ghana cedis. So after working for 16 weeks, and I was going back to Pram Pram, and it did not take into consideration how many times I had to go to the constituency. Every time I went to the constituency, within the 16 weeks, I got no allowance. When Parliament is rising, you get one allowance. I got 585 Ghana cedis. Someone like Zanato, whose constituency is where Parliament is, gets about 120 Ghana cedis. So is that what Nia is saying is the drain on the public purse? I mean, let's get serious if we want to talk. It's easy to attack MPs. And again, Nia, let's be clear. Let's be clear. That. I don't get free accommodation. I pay rent for the house I'm living in. okay? And I'm supposed to, as everybody knows, every public service worker, be you a messenger or a chief director, you get a percentage of your annual salary if you don't stay in a government bungalow. Okay, it's a range, I think it's about 10% or 20% of your gross pay. That is what you get as a rent allowance. Everybody gets a rent allowance. It is not an MP's thing. It's a public service thing, not just for those at the top, but everybody in there. So you see, there's a lot of misconception, a lot of untruths about so-called perks and benefits. I don't fix my salary, okay? But you see, you make a solid point and say that you're looking to raise 6.97 billion from an e-levy. But wastage in the public Auditor General's report points to 12.8 billion. That 12.8 billion didn't come from Parliament. It didn't come from us. Like you said, it's plain thievery. In 2016, that same Auditor General's report said that there was less than $1 billion in public wastage. Even that, I still think we did bad. 780 million, it actually said. And at the last NDC administration, John Mahama was accused of stealing and everything. 780 million, less than $1 billion. Under Akufo-Addo, in 4 years, we moved from 780 million in public wastage or proceeds from corruption to 12.8 billion. That's where the target should be. Again, we should be targeting the kinds of tax waivers we give. Because Israel, I still don't understand the tax waiver business. And we've been talking about this.
Well, the tax waiver or tax exemption, which you've also made reference to the fact that there's double taxation. Yes. Treaties that we get
absolutely
into. And so, yes.
No, but Israel,
brings in
Israel,
exemption.
No. I'm a road contractor in Ghana. And there's a foreign road contractor. You give me 100 kilometers of cocoa roads to construct, and you give a foreigner 100 kilometers of cocoa roads to construct here in Ghana. I, as a contractor, go abroad to go and buy the graders and the bitumen machines and everything because we don't produce them here. So I buy from the same market as the foreigner who is buying there. You give the foreigner a tax exemption on the equipment he's bringing in. And me, the Ghanaian contractor who is constructing the same road with him, when I bring it in, I must pay duty because I'm a Ghanaian. What is the double taxation here?
Okay.
You get it? So
that is why you have the exemptions.
The
exemptions bill, fortunately, it's coming before Parliament. It's before Parliament. It's something that you, MP, should look at and quickly pass.
I mean, I would support the exemptions bill, but let me state emphatically that I am not against the budget. Because, remember, I said there are 3 stages. The budget, we will do the discussion, the debate on the policy, which starts on Tuesday, tomorrow to Friday. Then we'll break into committees to do the estimates and come and debate the estimates before approval of appropriation. Let me state for the records. Sam George, I'm not against the 2022 budget. I can't be against the budget because the workers of Ghana, some of whom are my constituents, be they policemen, teachers, lawyers, who are on the public payroll, have their salaries in that budget. So I can't be against the budget in its entirety. I'm against the e-levy policy, which I would fight. I would fight it at a committee level and speak on the floor of the House against it, and I would fight against appropriation. My leadership has indicated that they would not support it. If that e-levy on mobile money transactions and on the face value of business transactions is not taken out of appropriations, me, Sam George, irrespective of whichever way my party leadership will want to go, will vote against the appropriations bill. Because I will not approve appropriation that introduces an e-levy. Until that revenue line is taken out, I cannot support
whether that e-levy is reviewed and fine-tuned to make it more acceptable.
If the e-levy includes a taxation of any amount, even if it is 0.01, on the value of transaction, on every transaction, it's a different thing if we're talking about charges and other things. But if it is on the value of the transaction, I'm being very clear. If it is a charge, even if it's 0.01%, in addition, on the charge of the value, not on the service charge, but on the value of transaction, I would oppose the appropriations bill. If it is on the value of bank transfers, not on the service charge, I would oppose it as well. And on inward remittances again, if there is no considerable threshold that is placed on that kind of taxation, again, because you cannot tell me that someone sending $100, they've called you, you are brushing teeth of horses in London to make a living.
and then they call you that your mother is sick and they need to buy medicine, she's dying, and you are sending €100 or £100, and the government of Ghana thinks that they must take 1.75 on that money to buy medicine, €100 or $100, it makes no sense. And even when you're talking about the big ticket items, when you're looking at FDIs, people transferring monies into Ghana to build the industries that we need. I mean, there must be a thinking around this. So if that thinking is not clear, I cannot append my signature or approve or vote. I will call for a vote by division.
Okay.
And vote against the appropriation, because appropriation is where you have all of the bill, the appropriations bill. We will take a stand against it.
Collins Adomakum Mensah, now the finance minister has indicated that they're seeking to win over or win the cooperation of the minority. How do you intend to go about this when Sam George has taken such a categorical stance?
Well, I thank Sam George for giving us a heads up. Now we know his position, and so we will try harder to convince Sam George to help us push this through. But this thing happens all the time, and Sam George made it very clear. You'll be surprised that normally at the committee level, you see even members of parliament from the government side, opposing strongly some aspects of what the government has presented. And that is what we do. The idea is to brainstorm, to fine-tune it, to use your word, to fine-tune it to ensure that all Ghanaians accept this. Now, the point is that I'm happy Sam George says he supports the 2022 bill. Ghana has to move on. Government has to rake in some revenue to ensure that the expenditure line that it has stated is taken care of. I'm happy he says he supports it. His problem is that, and the problem with some members of the NDC is that the method we are using to bring in some revenue, they have an issue with it. As you said, we'll brainstorm with them. Government has a duty and a responsibility to continue to explain to them the reason for this particular transaction. I have told you that personally, I have some little issues with the policy. But at the committee level, I'll make my stance very clear on that. And I hope that government will listen to all of us and listen to divergent views so that we fine-tune it and then we move forward. We have to really move forward as a country. And government's idea of ensuring that there's equitable distribution or equitable responsibility in terms of tax obligation is something that I support dearly.
All right, now, Collins, I want to put this to you. So for me, when I look at the e-levy, one of the issues I have is we're saying that we're going to widen the tax net. Widening the tax net means that we're bringing in other people who should be paying tax but don't pay tax. But what this e-levy tries to do is to add to the burden of people who are already paying direct taxes. So I pay taxes. My taxes are withdrawn from my salary at source. So yes, I'm a contributor to national development and the payment of taxes. And yet this e-levy will impose a further burden on me, as well as people who also don't pay taxes. Don't you think we should find a way of discriminating? Otherwise, let's scrap the direct taxes entirely and everybody else pays e-levy.
This e-levy is discriminatory. If you look at the exemptions.
It's not discriminatory for people who are paying direct taxes already. That's the point I'm making. So yes, we're happy to pay. I'm happy to pay taxes. But if I'm paying taxes and there's a widening of the tax net and you include me in that widening, that's problematic, don't you think?
Well, you have a point, but I believe the proposal said anything below 100 cedis in a day, you are exempt from paying the tax.
Well, I would spend more than 100.
Of course, you're lying. You have to spend more than 100.
And it's not just me. It's not just me. Everybody. So government says that for people who earn 3,000 cedis and below, or who are moving 3,000 cedis and below, it doesn't quite work out that way anyway. The point I'm just making is that I think there has to be some...
The point about that is that when you do 100 cedis a day, you are exempt. So the calculation is that if you do 100 cedis every day in a month, that's 3,000. And so that is the whole idea about the 3,000 is exempt.
The point I'm just making is that I think it's something that government has to really look at. And I'm hoping that you, being a member of the majority, would also table this when it comes up. Because people who are already paying taxes shouldn't be made to bear this e-levy as well. Otherwise, let's scrap the direct taxes. Let's all pay e-levy.
What I'm excited about is that since the announcement, if you check on the airwaves, social media, a lot more people are bringing alternative solutions, which is what is important to me. Right. I get people, and Samjo today has made some suggestions, which is what the whole idea of democracy is about. And I'm sure as we move into the debates and groups into our committees, all these issues and alternatives are going to come up. Government, as I said, is open to suggestions. And I'm sure at that particular stage, you might never know, other more innovative ways of implementing this e-levy will come up.
All right. All right. Okay, so I'd want to take your final thoughts on it, on this conversation, and also ask you, there are a number of things that have come up in the budget. One of them being a common platform for the collection of property taxes at the district assembly level. What do you make of that too? Hello, Collins. All right, it appears we probably may have lost the Collins on that line. But Nia, I'll take your take on that as well, on the other issues that have come up in the budget, the collection of property taxes at the central level, or centralizing the collection of property taxes so that the central government is going to have is going to share that, because they're putting in place a mechanism for the collection to be done, and so they're going to take a bit of that. What do you make of that as well?
Right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'd just like to touch on this and respond to Honorable Sam George quickly.
All right.
Before I made my submissions to him, I had said that there was not a personal attack whatsoever.
He indicated that.
Yes, but then for him to come and then state categorically that I lied, that is quite unfortunate. And
okay, he says the point you made.
No. So hold on. No, I get you. I followed the conversation. I heard him say, he said it emphatically that I lied, and then he said it twice that I'd lied concerning the kilometric allowance and some other things. And that word was a bit too strong, I think. You could have said I probably misquoted, but you cannot deny that certain Article 71 holders are being paid kilometric allowances.
He says when you talk about MPs.
You might claim you're not. Say again?
He says when you talk about MPs, that's where he has a problem with it.
But I didn't limit it to MPs. I had actually said that it goes to Article 71 holders. So it might not necessarily cover everyone in that bracket, but certain people in there are actually benefiting from those. So you cannot state that I'm telling a lie or that I'm lying based on facts. I mean, no. Let's get serious. This is not a play.
Okay.
No one is crying, respectfully. But again, you see, he sought to say that he only takes some 500 Ghana cedis when Parliament is rising, and that's what is costing a drain on the public purse. Again, respectfully, Sam George, if you are taking 500, you're not the only person. We have some 275 members of Parliament. So if each of them is taking that comes to a total of about some 135,000 Ghana cedis. And if by going by what you said, that happens 3 times in a year, that means you're looking at close to 400,000 Ghana cedis. Now, if you didn't know, that can actually put up 2 6-unit classroom blocks.
That's not true.
And currently, Ghana is in deficit of some 4,000 classroom units. So if you and your other colleagues are taking such amounts 3 times a year, which is coming to about 400,000.
Okay, so he's making the point that it can build only 1, not 2.
Whichever, but then still, you could still build 1.
All right.
Still, you cannot dismiss it that way. But
not go back to their constituencies.
But then back to the issues of the property rate and all of that. Again, collecting taxes is not really a bad thing. It goes to aid in development.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a good thing. But I am saying Ghanaians do not trust the current political establishment we have, which is made up of the NDC and the MPP. Ghanaians do not trust them because we see how we, the ordinary Ghanaians, are making sacrifices to contribute to the national development.
Yeah.
But those we've elected to stand in place for us in parliament or to represent us in government are actually living lavishly. And they don't seem to be carrying the brunt of the issues you are dealing with. So it's very difficult to go back to the Ghanaian people and tell them, you know what, we need you to pay some more taxes. The question then will be, what are you doing with those taxes?
Yeah.
So then, if they can, it's about public trust. If they can go back to winning public trust, and this will only happen if there's accountability and there's transparency.
All right.
If they can stand with integrity and show Ghanaians that indeed we are willing to stand with you by making certain sacrifices ourselves and making sure that we put the taxes that are collected to judicious use, then Ghanaians can begin to trust them, and we may be willing to put up with some of these exorbitant taxes they're throwing.
All right. Thank you very much, Niayi, who is with the Economic Freedom Fighters League, the national spokesperson. We also had joining us for the conversation, Collins Adumako Mensah, who is the MP for Efija Kwabre North. We lost him on the line, but I'll come to you, Sam George, MP for Ningo Pram, for your concluding thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, and with all due deference to my brother Nee, if he felt that the word lie was too strong, well, apologies to him. I felt that if something is not true, it's a lie. But that's fine. I mean, it's fair and square. We can have a conversation on what he thinks are the largesse and luxuries that he talks about.
Which is really the
and I mean, we can always have
Article 71 of his holders.
And I'm very comfortable with us having that conversation. I always maintain that, look, if MPs are not burdened with certain responsibilities, okay, which you shouldn't have them having to deal with, that their colleagues don't deal with in other jurisdictions, maybe we can have some conversations.
Which
but like
burdens they take on themselves?
Oh, well, if you are not bringing bills for second marriages and third marriages and all kinds of things to an MP, it's easier to make all kinds of claims. Look, you need to see the lives of MPs after they leave office. But like I said, that's a different conversation. On the issue of the property tax thing, I agree. Look, and nobody who has his head properly screwed on would say that taxation is a bad thing. But it's the manner in which it is done. Look, property taxes are a major IGF source for district assemblies.
Yeah.
Taking it away from the district assemblies and trying to centralize it in Accra. And not, when you're centralizing it in Accra, you're putting it in the hands of a private player to get a percentage of revenue. And I hear it is 40, 30, 30. A private company is going to be the one to do the property taxing. They will take 40%. Then central government will take 30%. And then
the
district assembly will take 30%. I mean, why don't we empower the district assemblies to, on their own, do this collection? You're talking about
but they're supposed to do that now. I mean, they don't need anybody to tell them.
They're doing it. But you see, this is an overburdening central government dipping his hands into the kitties of the local assemblies. What we need to do is rather set benchmarks, KPIs, for district assemblies. Meet this target, or you, the head of the district, who is the district chief executive, will be fired, because we want you to raise this revenue. And we are talking about job creation. Allow the district assemblies employ this evaluators, their own people at the local assemblies, to go out there, go after the houses and do the taxation of these houses. Because mind you, there are certain funds that the district assemblies qualify for on the basis of their revenue collection, which is the DPAT thing, which is foreign funding, which comes to support them. The Germans are saying that, look, if you go ahead, and the Germans provide a lot of funding for DPAT, they are saying that, look, if this becomes central government, we're going to pull out of it. Okay. We're going to lose that funding. Secondly, even once your IGFs don't meet a certain threshold, you don't qualify for DPAT. So this whole concept of centralizing what we should decentralize, for me, is my problem. Yeah. So yes, property taxes, by all means, we must expand the net. We should be able to collect the property taxes better, but to centralize it, it is just an opportunity for create, loot, and share. Somebody is going to sit somewhere in Accra and have a cut in whatever is being generated, because if that person is sitting in Accra, he can't determine what is going on in Ngo Pram Pram. He won't have a share in that one. But to bring everything to Accra, then one person is going to sit down and look into the kitty. Who is the private entity that is going to get 40% of all revenues?
It's something worth looking into.
Absolutely. Right. So these are the issues we're raising. And like Collins said to you, we were in Ho for the post-budget workshop. I was there. And I mean, even in Parliament, I've engaged them. And so when people think that, people shouldn't think that the NDC is just out to, against it. He will tell you. And even with the finance ministry, deputy ministers and the minister himself, I have made certain suggestions to them and said, look, if we do it this way, it would help. It would help the country. Yeah. It will help the ordinary people. Because this is not about me or them. It's about the people we serve.
All right, thank you very much, Sam George. Sam George is MP for Ningo Pram. You're still on the AM show. We have more coming up. Don't go away.
Hello, my name is Nathaniel Atto. You can catch up with all the fun and inspiration on the Joy Sports link here on Joy 99.7 FM, together with all other shows over and over again. It's very simple. All you need to do is go to myjoyonline.com/podcast and relive all of those fun moments over and over again. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
Now, the National Science and Maths Quiz gets into the semi-final stage on Tuesday with a number of interesting contests lined up after the elimination of some top schools. We have a conversation with AFSA and Primetime Productions. Joining us from AFSA is Nana Isilfua Tamaklo, who's a Marketing and Corporate Relations Director, AFSA Bank Ghana Limited, and Samuel Nate Ajo, who's a regular here on the AM show. He's Associate Client Service Director, Primetime Limited, organizers of the National Science and Maths Quiz. You're both welcome to the studio. And Samuel, I'll start with you. So how come all these top schools are just dropping out of the competition like that?
Well, thank you once again.
And subjecting people like me to public ridicule.
I remember in one of our interviews here, I mentioned that the science and maths has now become what we call Ubia.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot think that because
respect
you are
no
category
school.
EX, category A school, therefore, that's all there is about to it. But there's a lot more to it. Now, the so-called smaller schools are coming. They believe, because at the end of the day, we all write the same exam. We all thought the same thing in school, in class. And so, it just cannot be that you would always have to write on me forever. One day things will change. And now, over the years, it's changing. That's why you have some of those top schools getting beaten fair and squarely.
It's interesting. We'll be going into the pairings we have for the semi-final stage, but I'll bring you in, Nanesufua. Which school did you go to, by the way?
I went to Infantiman.
Infantiman?
Moga.
Oh, where are they?
They didn't make it for the original.
But despite all of that,
unfortunately.
despite all of that, AFSA has been supporting the National Science and Maths Quiz, and they've been giving some fantastic prizes to the winners at every level of the competition. Tell us a bit more about why AFSA is deciding to go in this way.
Okay, thank you very much, Israel, and good morning to your viewers. And, you know, we launched a new bold brand in 2020, and at the height of COVID, we made this bold decision to support Primetime to promote the study of STEM. We've been in this area for longer than the 2 years that we've partnered Primetime.
All right.
Because this falls right in, Force for Good activity. We've been in the education and skills development, support for the last about 8 years. And so it just was a right fit. It felt right, to do, what we have always done. And also partnering a company like Primetime just felt right because they gave us the right fit. And so we're just actually continuing with our support for the promotion of mathematics and science. And actually the COVID has now made it extremely relevant. I'm talking about STEM education. So I think we are the right place.
All right, and you have committed some prizes to the schools that are participating in the competition. Are you happy with the way things are going, or you think they're chopping too much of your money?
No, not at all. No, actually, the competition has been very exciting, and we're actually very happy with the way things are going. And I think you were having a conversation before, the surprises that are happening, including your own school.
Oh. You don't have to remind me.
Yeah, so actually it's just been a very healthy competition, and we enjoy it a lot. You know, it's everybody's evening entertainment, just trying to see which school is going to win. So we are very excited to be associated with the competition as a brand, and hopefully as we enter into the semi-finals, we'll have even more exciting, you know, stuff coming out of the schools.
And it's actually very, you know, educative programming.
Yes.
And so it's not your typical, and it's also entertaining as well.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So Samuel, let's look at the contest that we have lined up on Tuesday, the semi-final contest. We have Opokuware going against KNUST, SHS, and then Prempeh College. And people are wondering, how come we're having 3 Kumasi schools going at each other?
Well, so it's all about the balloting based on what we do in terms of the parents. So you meet each other when you're able to move on to another stage based on the balloting and the structure of the parents. You're able to meet one another. So that's how we have something like that. People have been looking forward to something like that, and naturally we're expecting to see or have all 3 Kumasi schools in particular at the semi-final stage, and especially in Kumasi. So somebody's going to say maybe it's more or less a final for the Ashanti schools before the finals. It's really going to be exciting. It will be very, very difficult to really predict who's going to win. It's really going to be very difficult because I believe KNUST would have that faith, that belief in themselves that
host and win, because it's happening on the KNUST campus.
Exactly, they will not be massacred like the Anglican student who was asked whether he was massacred. So it's really going to be a very, very tight and intense contest, and I can't determine who's going to win. The best school would naturally win, then, but we'll definitely have one Kumasi school obviously in the final. And we also have Presec meetings in Peters and Chim Senior High School.
Yeah,
which
that's another
cracker. It's going to be another cracker. As far as Presec, the other dear boys are concerned, it's going to be the 7th seal. That's what they call it now. It's going to be the 7th seal. That they're going to win it for the 7th
time.
Seal it. As to whether that's really going to come true, we all live to see. Because I think St. Peter's would also want to come back, like Michael Obin said, maybe the Egyptians that they were seen previously, they're going to see them anymore. So that's going to be another cracker. But we shouldn't rule out those smaller schools. They can spring a surprise.
Yeah.
Like Chimu between St. Peter's and then Presec. Chimu could cause a surprise, just as KNUST could also do the same. Now, another exciting contest, or the last one I will really be looking out for, it's Wesley Girls, Tamale Senior High School, and Keta. That's going to be another interesting contest. I know a lot of people, would want to see a female school, all girls schools in the finals. That's Wesley Girls. People are rooting for Wesley Girls to be there. But as to whether they can really put up that fight to face Tamale, who are very much on fire, Tamale SHS who are very much on fire, and Keta Senior High Technical who are also very much in their elements. That's also be another wonderful thing to see. I don't know if they will be able to, but would love to see a girls' school for that matter, in the final, and possibly winning the championship. But in all of this, even if you lose, you are worthy winners, and then you're also going to win something from APSA, because from the quarterfinal stage, they are responsible. It's the money zone, so your scores will be converted to cash for you. So it's not like you're going away empty-handed. You're something massive there for you from APSA, and I believe that even if you don't make it to the finals, you have something who I'm sure they have already picked some at the quarterfinal stage. They're going to pick more. Yes, at the semi-finals. Yeah. Then at for the finals, they have the Special Excellence Awards from APSA for the 3.
I'll let Nane Silva tell us about that. Tell us about some of these mouth-watering prizes that have been lined up. We've gone past the quarterfinals, still in the semi-final. Yes. I believe the semi-final, the prizes become a lot more, attractive.
Yes, and it's just also to support the students. When you look at the preparation that they go through to get to the stage that they are, naturally, they are all winners. In my opinion, they are all winners. Yeah. So we have put up these prizes with the help of Prime Time to support the students, starting, as you said, from the previous contest now into the semi-finals in the ABSA money zone and then the special prizes that we have. So as far as we are concerned, this is just to help cushion these students, because they do have needs, just to help with the educational journey because they're still students anyway. Yeah. Yes.
So tell us about the prizes. I'm interested, the amount of money that you're going to, or what is at stake as far as from ABSA is concerned.
Yeah, so for, like I indicated earlier, the money zone, your scores is converted to cash. So PSEC, for instance, having won with 70 points, it's multiplied by 10, I think 10 cities at the quarterfinal stage. So that amount of money goes to each of them, of the three contestants plus the teacher. So it's quite a mouthful. Then at the semi-final stage, the same will apply. Your scores, by this time, it will be 15 cities for a point. So your scores will determine how much you're going to win. Then at the final stage, it's 25 cents per point. So that's also determined. So in all of this, you have quite solid cash coming to you from ABSA Bank. Then at the finals, after the finals, they have the special ABSA Special Excellence Awards prizes to the schools. So it's 30 cities for the first, 40,000 cities for the first, 30,000 for the second.
Again?
40,000, yes.
40,000?
Yes.
For the first, and then the 30 for the second.
And then 30,000 for the second, and then 20,000 for the third. So these are the special things that ABSA has brought on board.
They should have had national science and maths quiz when I was in school.
During your time,
sure I would have done science. And I would have featured in the
actually before the finals, before the special prizes, the more points you have, obviously. You might think multiplying it by like a 10 CDs or 15 is more, but it's by points. So the more points that you have, you can just add up all of that to see how much one student can go away with.
Okay. Yeah. What's new from ABSA?
We're so very exciting to, sponsor this program and be a lead sponsor with Prime Time. But as a business, we continue to play very strong shaping role in society. And our support for the education and skills development area is ongoing. And we're still excited to continue with this sponsorship. However, as a business, there's so many other exciting things that we are doing as a bank. We support the SME very strongly in enterprise development, one of our strong areas. And then we also still have a lot of nice packages for the youth. We have a junior save to get children started, and then we also have ignition account for our tertiary, specially designed for our tertiary students. And there are some freebies on the account, as in no maintenance charge, international debit card, free e-services, all of that. And then we have the education policy also, just parents to take on a policy so that should the unthinkable happen, students can still pursue their dreams. And so we have very exciting products, as a bank. And we continue to support different courses within the society.
That must be the secret why ABSA seem to be doing quite well in recent years.
Yes, happy to say as at this third quarter, we are the most profitable bank in the country, and we are very excited.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
It means that National Science and Maths is going to keep getting a lot more support from ABSA in the coming years. But thank you very much, Nanette Esilfuatamaklo is the Marketing and Corporate Relations Director at ABSA Bank Ghana Limited. And we also have Samuel Natiajo. He's the Associate Client Service Director, Prime Time Limited, organizers of the National Science and Maths Quiz. You're still here on the AM show. We'll be back after this break. Stay tuned.